Today, we will see how disgusting, perverted, and terrifying people can be. Yes, there may be a psycho or even a serial killer walking around your neighborhood right now. Someone who looks completely normal on the outside but has a monster hiding inside their mind. Someone who could turn another person's life into a nightmare if given the chance. And the scariest part? You might pass by them every day without ever realizing who they really are. For example, this case began with a desperate emergency call. A woman on the other end of the phone, speaking through tears, told dispatchers that a young girl was being held captive inside a house with a chain around her neck. At first, police found the story hard to believe. It sounded more like something from a horror movie than real life. But just minutes later, when officers arrived at the scene, they realized the reality was even more disturbing than they had imagined. The house was unusually quiet. The windows had been boarded up with wood. The doors were screwed shut. It looked as if someone inside was being hidden from the entire world. Then suddenly, a terrified scream echoed from an upstairs window. At that moment, officers knew someone was truly trapped inside. When police finally entered the house, they were met with a scene straight out of a nightmare. A woman stood inside with a heavy metal chain fastened around her neck, and the chain wasn't simply attached to a post. It had been permanently secured into the ground using specially installed metal fittings. Someone had deliberately designed a system to imprison another human being like an animal. To the officers, the entire house looked more like a torture chamber than a home, but the most horrifying part was still to come. The investigation revealed that the suspect had done much more than physically imprison the victim. He had systematically broken her mentally. He threatened her every day. He beat her, and he constantly warned her that if she ever tried to escape, he would kill her. Later, the victim told investigators that she had become so terrified she eventually believed she would never leave the house alive. Yet even then, the full extent of the horror had not been uncovered. Police soon learned that the suspect, identified as Moises May, was allegedly forcing the victim into sexual exploitation for money. According to investigators, he would take complete control over a person's life, turning them into what he viewed as a slave under his command. He would slowly strip away their freedom, their confidence, and their ability to resist. And what made the case even more chilling was the fact that from the outside he appeared completely normal, a regular person, someone you would never suspect. Because sometimes the real monsters don't look like monsters at all. They walk among us looking just like everyone else. But this wasn't the only disturbing case. Another horrifying incident unfolded in Ohio. Initially, police believed it might be a routine kidnapping or assault investigation. However, within hours they realized they had stumbled into a twisted and deeply disturbing world. The case began when a young woman reported that a couple she knew had lured her onto their property, assaulted her, threatened her, and subjected her to horrific abuse. Somehow she managed to escape and contact police, but investigators still had no idea how dark the situation really was. As detectives followed leads, they arrived at a remote compound belonging to a man known as TJ and his girlfriend, Morgan Smith. But by the time officers got there, the couple had already fled into the nearby woods. What they left behind shocked everyone. Inside the home, officers noticed what appeared to be an ordinary children's playpen. But when they got closer, they realized it wasn't a playpen at all. It was a cage. A wooden cover had been placed on top and secured tightly with zip ties to prevent anyone from escaping. And inside that cage was a 3-year-old child. The conditions were horrifying. Rotting milk bottles, filth, a foul smell throughout the enclosure. Evidence suggested the child had been trapped there for extended periods of time. Even experienced officers were disturbed by what they saw. But the nightmare continued. During a search of the property, police found knives, drug paraphernalia, and numerous dangerous objects scattered throughout the house. The entire environment posed a serious threat to the children living there. The house felt less like a home and more like a toxic nightmare. Yet somehow children were being raised inside it. Then investigators discovered a journal. Its pages contained disturbing writings about punishment, control, and bizarre rules. At that point, detectives realized this wasn't just another abuse case. It was the dark world of a completely dysfunctional family where cruelty had become normal and humanity had disappeared. And it doesn't end there. Another terrifying case would eventually lead investigators into the world of a suspected serial killer, a man who entered homes and murdered victims with shocking brutality, a predator who seemed to view human life as meaningless. The investigation began when a woman named Sarah Evans entered a friend's home and immediately screamed. Inside, she discovered the blood-covered body of 59-year-old Benny King. The entire house was drenched in blood, and what investigators would uncover next would reveal a killer far more dangerous than anyone had imagined.